a Cartoon Crossroads Columbus cartoonist, 2 news and review zines, and the latest from Steve Willis. Let's take a look. Hey everybody, welcome to FANzine Live. It is the new releases day, and this means we are going to be taking a look at a zine from the 2024 edition of Cartoon Crossroads Columbus. I pulled out Shelf Portraits by Hunter, who goes by, I want to make sure I get it correct. Oh, he's got it in here somewhere. Well, I guess we'll just keep rolling along. Anyway, Hunter is offering up sketches, strips, scraps, and sarcasm from Hunt Nut Studios. And I will show you this very nice digest-sized saddle stitch zine, photocopied very nicely. And kind of a neat Charlie Brown type effect there. But then he goes to the inside and we start going to color. Looks like could be color photocopy, could be inkjet. I'm going to go with color photocopy if I had to guess. But I like what he did here. This is just kind of a shelf portrait. It's a self-portrait zine, kind of representations of himself and what he is all about. So he has his dreaming and coffee about himself. Money equals power equals money. Dealing with depression, no ADHD, artwork, vanity, family, ego. I like that. Love how he's into tacos. Notice that he's got different styles on each, but the consistency of the character all the way through really is nice. And he throws in Chasing Ink, track 1 by J.M. Hunter. Always liked aggressive music, dug melody. Some makes me feel lighter, others match the mood. He's glad to have music in his life. I am glad to have music in my life, too. Makes it all the way up the hill. And what did they put up there? A Star Chucks. I like how he rolls up his sleeve here and gets the old Monty Python treatment. So just a lot of fun little buggers in here. That's just fun stuff to read. Then he goes into really sketchy cartooning. But this was by Logan and his dad. So this was something they did together in a father-son type of thing called Captain Pirate Cheese. That was fun. The Dad Bod Chronicles, something I'm forgetting. Hunter, did you do the dishes? That was it. And then the kid's back there saying, "Where's your father?" As if he didn't do anything. The Sunday Hunter, talking about things he does with his son. Playing video games. Looks like drawing and playing video games, playing together. Good stuff. Some character sketch work. That looks like the front cover, if you ask me. Another one, I like the kind of work in progress pencil work there. A play on the Peanuts piece. What else do we got? About his wife and the beard. My open tabs on my computer. That's cute. All about me done in brunetti. I am Hunter. I'm a Sagittarius. I love tacos. Okay. Some cool stuff. And really neat combinations and experimentation all along. Yeah, he's at JM_indie_hunter. So I'm going to put his stuff on the in the show notes. I really like this though. Shelf portraits, neat way to introduce yourself to the world. Also, I'm going to guess it's probably a less expensive way to sell a zine or two when you're at a zine fest. It's good to have 1 or 2 of these in your portfolio when you're out there trying to show off your art to the world. Thanks, Hunter. Really appreciate it. And we will show some other zines coming up next. Our next zines I'm going to do together because I don't want to spend a lot of time on them, but they are both good, and in my mind, they are both necessary. I have found that the zine world really suffers for lack of a comprehensive news/review zine. And I won't lie, I was spoiled back in the mid 80s and late 80s with Small Press Comics Explosion and Comics FX and the like. We don't have that anymore. What we have instead are smaller regional zines that do the work together. And so I'm going to suggest that you might want to take a look at Bubbles 21 and Comic Blogger number 10. Both are basically interview/review zines. The interviews are in depth in both cases. The reviews a little less in depth, but still worth reading, and they still give you some ideas of what's going on. So I'm going to put Bubbles off to the side for the moment. Here's Comics Blogger, done by a gentleman named Thomas Campbell, or Thomas J. Campbell. Of course, the one issue I get of it, he's apparently out and about and had his friend do the interview for him. It's a really good interview with a person named Shannon Spence out of New Jersey, who did a thing called Punk Lab Girl Burn It Down. Talks a lot about art, talks a lot about making zines, talks a lot about the work of making zines. In this case, they spent some time talking about how they did spiral binding on the thing, some of the art influences. I mean, some really nice stuff here. This is a description of Entropy Editions, which is a publisher, a micropress they call it, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So it's a nice profile there. I really enjoyed reading that. And then we get to, and you get some nice artwork in the middle, and then you go back and you do another interview, in this case with Sunmi. And I don't know, I don't think they have a official last name, but this is from the Toronto Comic Arts Festival, and they were at Datura magazine, and Sunmi worked there, worked that table, and of course was a contributor to the zine. One thing I do like about both this and this is that you get a couple reasonably sized art examples. So as you're reading all this heavy text, I don't have any problem with reading heavy text, but it is nice to have some reference material, because comics and cartooning and zine making is about the merger, well, to me at least, it's about the merger of text and art, text and illustration, text and graphic or photography. And so you've got to be able to see both to understand what the creator is trying to get at. So you can see another nice piece. And again, this is a half-page digest, saddle stitched, photocopied, nothing super crazy on that front. You can see it's a simple layout, 2 columns per page. The photo work is, good enough. Shows you what you need. And then he gets into some reviews. And the reviews, as you can see, are about half a page each. And so you get a nice size picture of the cover, probably about 1.5 inches to 2 inches tall. So you're not squinting too hard to see what you've got. And then you can see the reviewers, I believe his name is Thomas's, see what he has to say about these. And then at the end of it, he says, here's some incidental announcements. Here's some upcoming and new comics. To stay with the good graces of the USPS, these are officially not advertisements, but incidental announcements, as may appear in a book or audio recording. And so basically, real minor kind of news type items, but then make sure that the USPS understands that this is not advertising, and he's still trying to ship via media mail. So that's Comics Blogger. Nice little piece, $5. I'll put the information in the show notes. And then also Bubbles. Now this is a little bit further along. This was only the 10th issue of Comics Blogger. We're on the 21st issue of Bubbles. And Brian, the publisher, has really stepped up his game here. Definitely offset printed. He's got himself clearly he's got himself a subscription base that's allowing it, or at least a circulation base. Also, something I've noticed, this is not a paperback book, but you can see it's square bound with staples. And I found that really interesting. It works quite well for this purpose, and it's been professionally trimmed. Brian's getting this thing professionally done, and good for him. That means he's successful, and I love seeing a good news review zine being successful. You can see he's got some major interviews in this one, lots of advertising. Both this and Comics Blogger have a nice kind of zine culture, kind of post-punk style format to it. This one's a little cleaner, but you can still tell it's kind of got that do-it-yourself feel to it. BubblesCon coming up, and a symposium of interviews and talks on comics and manga. Richmond, Virginia, June 6th to 7th. Make sure you get there. Yeah, he says he's not doing subscriptions anymore, but he sure is moving stuff along. So you've got some announcements. He's got some stuff about a trip that he did to India, where he did an Indie Comics Fest in Bangalore, India. Then he talks about his haul, some photos, some advertising. Always good to have advertising in these zines. I find them to be really helpful. And then he gets into his interviews, and as you can see, especially with the offset printing, the photos now are much nicer. His illustrations have always been big, and I like that. Again, the mixture of art and text together, I think, is important. But anyway, so that's one with Olivier Shawrin, who has a book tour across America. Some really nice stuff. And I do like how he really keeps it just about half and half of art and text. Then he does he has an article on Ninja Moves by Dash Shaw. And then an interview done by another person, Andres Magan, who apparently looks to be out of Spain, if I had to guess. And you can see, again, some neat stuff. So we got a World Zines touch to this, and I do like that. Can't show all of this, sorry. Some nice stuff there. Then John Hankowitz. Again, nice looking work. And Mirror by Hetland. Oh, my son would love this. He loves his trains. Neat cartoon. Then Patrick Rosenkrantz, heavily documenting the first wave of underground comics from the 60s and 70s. That's a good interview, by the way. And Rosenkrantz clearly has been a busy person doing all of these different books. And then Brian gets into all of his reviews. And probably, my guess is, if you blew the text up, you probably would have about the same length of reviews as we had in Comic Blogger. But he just squeezes a heck of a lot more in. Not saying it's better or worse. Luckily, the printing is good, the text is clean, and so it is able to be read. But there's a lot of stuff in here. Just amazes me how many zines are out there in the world right now. Some of which I've actually read. Then the Richmond Animation Festival has decided to do a Events in April. Very cool. So, that's Bubbles 21, a great zine. Comics Blogger number 10, a great zine, both with lots of interviews, profiles, reviews, the type of stuff we need to help promote the medium. Love them both. Are we saving the best for last? Quite possibly. I'm not entirely certain, but I got to tell you, we are saving the master for the last, and that is Steve Willis out of the Pacific Northwest in Washington State. I'm pulling out a couple notes that he sent to me. He has done the Morty Comix, which I did a video on before. I will make sure to link that in the show notes. But for the last, 40 odd years, besides his one-off Morty Comix, is his Cranium Frenzy. Cranium Frenzy is clearly a half-page digest zine. Started, I believe, in like 1981, and he's gone all the way up through issue 40. And then he decided to stop. And it's on hiatus. Whether or not he's going to continue it, who knows? It's Steve. He can do whatever he wants because he's the publisher. He's the cartoonist. But he's doing something else, and we'll talk about that later. Cranium Frenzy is a blast to read. And it is basically the cartooning madness that is Steve Willis, and he just goes in all sorts of directions and does lots of fun stuff with stream of thought. Has a great kind of wicked sense of humor, a little offbeat. I say a little, kind of downplaying it. He's very offbeat in his sense of humor. His cartooning is great. He's the creator of Morty the Dog, which is the namesake of Morty Comix. This particular one is an entire stream of consciousness. He goes from lines to a line going on to a tin can phone, going up to the balloon that Morty's in, going through his ear. The guy's holding an egg. We're now talking about eggs. We're talking about vases. He likes the vase. The vase turns into a cat. The cat gets some milk. The milk has a name, has a missing person thing on it. The guy is, "Have you seen me?" And he's kind of hiding. Then we go to the frame. He jumps out of the frame. He jumps off the frame. He turns into snow. Snow globe. Snow globe gets grabbed. The grabbing turns into crocodile teeth. But the person is not a person. I mean, it just goes on and on and on like this. And he makes it work for 20 pages. It just blows me away how he does it. So that's issue 39. The last issue is issue 40. And this one was fun because I think he basically did a reflection, if you will, with his friend Buzzik out of Sarasota. He does a kind of a meditation on cranium, because again, it's Cranium Frenzy. So he does a cranium gallery. He does a bunch of hair. Then he does one about hair, or about time and how time passes, how he can't believe his ears. He does a joke there. This is I'm guessing Buzzik and Steve Willis. So this was a jam, apparently, between Buzz and, it looks like Buzz's artwork here, Steve's here. So they're working together to make this thing go. Then the Cranium Gallery continues, again, looking at heads and stuff. Then, of course, he has a fascination with Sebastian Cabot, the actor who was Mr. French on Family Affair way back in the 60s, 70s. Cranium Gallery, doing an interesting detective story with a large, disgusting glob as the star, wearing a little fedora. Mad as hell. This is like the story of our times. Normal person. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. And he goes back to being a normal person again. Is that not the story of our times? Then the story of hair in 3 parts. That's a part, and there's a part, and there's a part. So you choose how you want to part your hair. And then the end. Very fun. I love Steve Willis's work. Steve got out of Cranium Frenzy because he said he wanted to further expose himself to the creative juices that are happening out there in the world right now. And so he reached out to a metric ton of small press and zine artists, and perhaps some professionals too, because I don't know who exactly he's talked to do jam comics. And a jam comic is where he does a bit, and then the other guy does a bit, and then the next guy does a bit, and then he does a bit, and they go on and on until they reach a satisfying ending. Usually about 3 to 4 pages. And they're cute little vignettes. Interesting to see people work together. So as you can see, the first one is, it's a jam mashup improv comic published by Steve Willis. And as you can see, the first one is a solo piece by Steve, just 1 page. Then he goes into a piece with Charles Brubaker, who I believe has a cartoon book or series called Lorem Ipsum. And so the two of them did some work together, and you can see how they worked it out. Then you can see that he worked with a guy named Bob Reichart on this one. Then he did one with Cascadia Art Post, Jack Latiman, on this one. And they're fun. They're really interesting. It's wild to see these people go back and forth. And then Buzz Buzzakick again did this one with him. And then I think he wrapped up, Steve Willis and Anvil, who requires anonymity. So there you go. So these are really cool. I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag. I actually did one with Steve. And I've got to tell you, being a writer and not an artist, or not a cartoonist even, and trying to go back and forth with a guy of his abilities and caliber is really a challenge. You honestly feel like you're playing tennis, going back and forth, lobbing stories at each other, or lobbing developments in the story at each other, not knowing where it's going to go, and then trying to figure out how you can send it back, leave the guy in a good position to be able to do something back again. It is crazy to do. A lot of fun. I don't know when mine's coming out, but he's got so many people that he's working with right now, and I think he's going to spend most of 2025 doing jam strips. So that's kind of exciting. So Cranium Frenzy is wrapped up, at least for the time being, maybe forever. And this one, the first one of these jam books is called The Slivers of Light in An Ednless Night. And those are available from Steve Willis. I will put that information in the show notes as well. That's it for this time. We've had a lot to talk about, but we just have so many new releases happening in the world of zines. You got to just sometimes pull them all out. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been FANzine Live, new releases. Really glad you joined us, and I will catch you next time.